Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and all things above and in between. I am your host, Reader Love, one of them anyway, and I am joined, as always, by...
I'm Loreweaver.
And...
Just like Sierra Mist becoming Starry, I'm Bunty.
Sierra Mist got renamed?
It got replaced.
For a little while.
No, it's still Starry.
I see Sierra Mist all... Anyway, welcome to the Own Tempo Pokemon Podcast!
Where we're getting our minds blown about soda today.
Apparently. I still see Sierra Mist, but I guess I mostly see Coke products, because I live in North Carolina, and Coke is more present in the South.
Do you think Eevee prefers Coke or Pepsi?
I'm not sure, but that's what...
Eevee's definitely a Pepsi creature.
That's true.
Yeah, that makes sense. Pikachu is Coke and Eevee is Pepsi. because Eevee is the secondary mascot of the Pokemon franchise in many ways. He's, in some ways more popular than Pikachu, in other ways less popular than Pikachu, but he is iconic. It is an erstwhile starter Pokemon. We are bringing to you today Eevee and its extended family in National Pokedex order. So we're going to start with the lad, the myth, the legend, the creature, the being, the entity, Eevee.
The subject of my favorite Pokemon meme of all time. Napkin the Eevee, the weakest Eevee of all time.
Yeah. Meanwhile, has there ever been, Pikachu is very perfect in terms of, mascot design, but Eevee is also extremely perfect for what it is. You look at this thing and you're like, this is a normal creature. This is an adorable, fluffy thing that everybody wants, and it can turn into a bajillion things depending on who has it, which is the most brilliant idea for a creature that you're collecting in an RPG ever in anything.
Yeah, it made you really make some choices in Gen 1. I think the fact that it's just a normal creature kind of works against it as a mascot, whereas Pikachu is very vibrant and striking as a weird creature.
Well, the thing about Eevee, right, is that it's some kind of normal creature, but what kind of normal creature is it? I got no idea. Do you know what this is?
It is a capital M mammal.
Yes, it is some kind of strange dog, but, not necessarily a dog. And
Eevee's a fox. Okay, let's get this argument out of the way. Eevee is a fox.
Eevee is a fox for the most part, yeah. And then each of the Eeveelutions can be graphed on a triangle chart of cat, dog, and fox. And each of them has arguments you can make for all of them. But for the most part, it is no fox has ears like that. Those are bunny ears, for crying out loud. The ruff around its neck is also kind of rabbit-like, which is wild. And then obviously it's got the fox tail, but the little paws and everything are just kind of mammal paws. And then it's got, its big, cute anime face. But I think that Eevee is very iconic in how simple it is. The big ruff of fur is very much oh yeah, that's Eevee.
The fur ruff is adorable. To clarify, I think Eevee is adorable. I think Eevee is a great design. I just think Eevee is also kind of generic seeming, and that hurts it as a mascot.
I'm not really sure. I feel Pikachu is also kind of generic seeming. It's one color. It's two colors with one color with an accent. Just like Eevee is. It's got it doesn't really have any accentuating features beyond the ears and tail, very similar to Eevee. The only thing is that Eevee is brown, but that even kind of works as it looks very good next to Pikachu, and they look like a set to a weird degree because of the way that the coloration sort of works together.
It's kind of like how Tails, who's more of a muted orange-brown, looks great next to Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Eevee works very much as a contrast to and complement to Pikachu, and so the fact that they have only recently been considered counterparts for each other is kind of wild. But they also kind of always were, because in Pokemon Yellow, your rival gets the Eevee. So it's there are a number of ways in which Eevee was always kind of special and interesting.
I think they chose Eevee as the other starter in Yellow because of the prototype Nemesis system they were incorporating into that game.
That makes sense, yeah.
I think it went in that order. Eevee obviously existed before Yellow was even a glimmer in Satoshi's eye. But I think they picked Eevee because they wanted to do the adaptive rival team system that they wound up setting up. And Eevee was perfect because Eevee had a branching evolution.
Mm-hmm. And I think they might have just wanted to show that off because Eevee is missable in red, green, and blue. You don't, Eevee is kind of a secret, hidden, fun, cool guy that you don't necessarily see anywhere else. And it's interesting how Eevee has evolved over the series, pun intended, to being like a guy that shows up.
Was it intended? It didn't sound intended, love.
Yeah, the pun was unintended, and then I decided that it was intended. So Eevee has gone over the course of the series from something that you can only get as a gift that seems very rare and like people really look for it to available in the wild fairly early on in most of the recent games. And I think that that's interesting. I feel like that might be like a conservation like story. It's similar to how like Lapras was viewed as being hunted and endangered because of that, but then it's actually in some of its Pokedex entries it talks about how it became really popular and then conservation efforts happened, and I think Eevee has some of that.
I think that's a little bit of fanon. I think
we just found the region it was native to.
But no. It happens in
it's in Legends Arceus too.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's mostly available in the rifts, which is interesting.
Yeah, but
it's available.
You can find it in the wild in X
one
and Y.
specific area.
Really?
Yeah, you can find it in the wild starting in Pokemon Black 2 and White 2.
Oh,
you can find it in Castelia City, in a little secret grove. You can find it in the wild. And so that still kind of feels special and secret.
Yeah,
even
in Gen 9, you can find Eevee in one spot with a 1% encounter rate in a specific corner of what's the name of the place where Larry's gym is? That has all the dittos and stuff outside.
I don't remember the name either. Anyway,
I think that's
notably, this is also the case with Pikachu. You might have, that. We talked about this last time. The Pikachu and the Pika clones are not shoved in your face. They are often rare and available on only one route. So it's interesting that that Eevee does share that with Pikachu and its compatriots to a certain degree. So it is still rare, but it feels less rare, and you can have multiples, which I like because I like using multiple Eeveelutions. But then, of course, you've got the most busted Eevee in all of time. The Let's Go Eevee is
the anti-napkin.
Yeah, higher base stats in every way. It gets a move of every single type of all of its evolutions, so you can and all of those moves are busted, and they're
got to be busted.
Silly...
It's got a BST of 325.
It has a boosted BST.
Really? What's it up to?
I don't actually know off the top of my head.
Here, I'm on the Bulbapedia page. Partner Eevee,
but it gets
BST.
20 in everything,
yes.
And then 10 HP.
Yep.
So it gets 110 extra base stat points.
Yep. It's a base 435 Pokemon.
Which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's when you get there are some single stage Pokemon
when
that
you
have
get the
that
most
as their
busted
base stat
move
total.
pool imaginable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love I have been slowly working on a Pokemon insert fic, right? And I haven't been able to do a ton of stuff for a year now. I've been working on the latest 2 chapters. But in that fic, I kind of want to explore the idea of Eevee kind of being this rare, sought after by collectors type Pokemon who's kind of in danger because of that. And I wanted explore there are some ideas in the fic that it's based on about like price gouging and how Eevee being really rare makes them like, you know, really sought after for breeders as well. So it's like, okay, what if I did a thing where, like, I came across a breeding population of Eevee, and, like, through some metric, I wound up in a situation where I could, like, provide a fuck ton of Eevees to the world at large, as long as I knew that they were going to, like, good places, and I could like do that for free and just be like an Eevee supply depot. And like, if you can pay a lot, then please, by all means, pay me. But if you can't, and you deserve an Eevee because, you know, they're great, who wouldn't want one? They're fun to raise, and you would enjoy having one on your team, then I can offer one. But you have to
trials 3 and you may be granted an Eevee.
Actually, yes, there is a trial. So the situation, how it wound up, right, is that Eevee in Hoenn, in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, you can find them once you have the National Pokedex in the route right next to the Rust Turf Tunnel, the route between Rustboro and the tunnel. So I was like, okay, so what if there's a secret exit out of the Rust Turf Tunnel to like this big ass like grove habitat where they live, right? And somehow I stumble into that, and then it becomes like endangered somehow later on in the story. And like maybe they're all still Eevee, and like they leave sometimes to evolve because they live in like an Everstone deposit or something.
Ooh,
and,
that's
like,
a cool idea.
Oh, I like the thought of it.
And so like they some of them like leave to evolve, but they stay here because it's safe, and then it becomes endangered somehow. And so like essentially it winds up with my main character befriending and sort of technically catching the alpha of that area, a big ass Eevee who is like a veteran, it's got scars and shit.
I was gonna say, are we operating by captivity wolf rules now? But then I remember that quote-unquote alpha Pokemon exist in Arceus. So.
Yeah, that's so he's the chief, he's the boss. She calls him chief, and he is in charge of testing trainers.
Chief is a really good name for a pet Eevee, actually.
Also, the Everstone Deposit Cave is a great plot point idea. I'm imagining not just Eevee live there, but a few other Pokemon that are like, they should evolve. Like maybe there are a bunch of Weedles and everything in the cave, and it's just like, why don't I see any like Kakuna or anything like that in here? What's going on?
Yeah, it's not really a cave. It's more like a deposit. It's like a quarry area that's part of like that's in like a forest. It's like the cave opens up into like a sort of craggy forest area.
All the better.
Yeah. So Chief and Amy basically like Amy decides, okay, we're going to be partners in this. I'm not going to like call myself your trainer. You're going to be like the boss of this like operation. We're going to put together a contract. We're going to make this like a legit business, and you and I are going to be equals in it, and you're going to help me test all of the people that we're going to give these EVs to.
And
we're
Chief
like,
not understanding contract law. Like
no,
Eevee?
I explain everything to him because he's been around
like
for a
Eevee?
while. I don't know exactly how old this Eevee is going to have been, but he's been around for a while. He's seen his fair share of nonsense. Like he's chased humans off of his property. He's huge, and he's not going to evolve. He's going to be a partner Eevee. Like I don't know, like he's going to be like a partner Eevee with a Gigantamax factor. Eevees with the Gigantamax factor can't evolve as well. So like that's going to be like the secret lore reason why he also like he never leaves, he never wants to evolve, he can't evolve. And so he and I are going to be able to use the partner Eevee moves once we like agree and like learn how to work together and stuff. So
I just realized I've never seen an alpha Eevee before. How big is an alpha Eevee in Legends Arceus?
It's like a few feet tall. Like as far as I'm aware, they can obviously stuff varies in size. But let me just look it up real fast. I think on Cerebi you can get size stuff if you look correctly. But Alpha Eevee size. Here we go. Pokemon sizes. Legends Arceus. Where is Eevee? Here we go. Okay. So it looks like the maximum height it can be is 2 feet and 8 inches. I don't know if that's including ears or not.
Still tiny.
Still fairly small, yeah, but like not tiny exactly. 2 feet tall for like an Eevee that is supposed to be a foot tall is still pretty freaking huge.
Well, compare it to Alpha Munchlax, which is person-sized.
Yeah, I mean like for reference, that is taller than most of the Eeveelutions normally can get by themselves.
Oh,
so,
fair enough.
Yeah.
Big Eevee.
Yes.
So we have been talking about Eevee for quite a while.
He is an iconic boy. So, but I did have a lot to say because I have a lot of feelings about Eevee because I love Pikachu. I love Pokemon Yellow. I love all of that stuff. I like Eevee more.
I think my
Eevee
only disappointment
is my boy. He's my guy.
Is that it does not have interesting Pokédex entries.
Yeah, it mostly is just talks about like, oh, it can evolve into a bunch of
forms
stuff.
Depending on its exposures and environments. At least Gigantamax Eevee actually got literally anything about the Pokemon and how it lives and what it's actually like. But that's only in
for as much as we can like
context.
Yeah, for as much as we can take Gigantamax things seriously as like those are temporary forms. Yeah. I don't know how to take those. But anyway, yes, so we have talked about Eevee, our boy, our child, the best child. I love him. I could go on forever. I can and have used every single Eeveelution in a team before, like cycling through them because I love Eevee that much and I cycle through teams anyway. So I'm like, sure, let's just have all of them. So I love every single one of these guys. So let's begin. We're going in Pokedex order, so we must start with Vaporeon.
Vaporeon!
Notably, they go in the same order as Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres, because they're sort of counterparts to that, except Vaporeon is a water type.
Vaporeon is very unique for an Eeveelution. It's got the most out there design, and I kind of like it.
For sure, yeah. It looks definitely the least like Eevee. It's got the frill. You can see how Eevee becomes it. Like it's got like the ears turned into fins and the ruff became like a frill, and you can kind of see, but it is definitely very strange and different. It is also arguably the best Eeveelution, or at least it was until Sylveon came out. Yes, because water is a good type. It's got good stats. It's got lots of HP, lots of special attack, and most Eeveelutions do not get very much type coverage, but Vaporeon can use ice moves, like most water types can. So it is able to do a lot of things that other Eeveelutions cannot always do. So Vaporeon is just good. It's just very good, and it always has
I think
been.
A weatherman would have a Vaporeon as their little friend.
Yeah, I can
would make
see
sense,
that.
yeah.
Because according to the gold Pokedex entry, its fins can react to oncoming rain.
That makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense that it would be able to react to air pressure and pressure in general. The whole thing where it can turn into water, it references acid armor in its like Pokedex biology thing is very strange. It's like, oh yes, cellular makeup. Cells are not molecules. It's not the same thing. Turning into water is not.
To be fair, they clarify later that its cells are composed of units, much like water molecules.
I guess
I guess the implication is more that its
so
body's...
were most cells?
I guess the implication is that its body's cells are less rigidly attached.
It's magic. We don't gotta worry about it.
There's a
sci-fi.
Of...
You don't gotta worry about it.
It's science fantasy, and I will fight you on this.
I mean, are fantasies not fiction? What's happening here?
No, I mean, it is urban science fantasy, and I've gotten into arguments about the genre classification of Pokemon. It's urban fantasy with sci-fi elements.
Some people consider science fiction and sci-fi to also be separate terms, so I guess I'm on the weird end of this.
My favorite Vaporeon thing is a GIF art that somebody did of Penny and her Eeveelutions, where they're playing hide and seek, and it's very cute. But my favorite part of it is Vaporeon, which is hiding inside a water bottle, and it sticks its head out, and then when Penny turns her head to look, it swoops back into the water bottle, and then when she looks away, it comes back out of the water bottle. It's so good. Actually, I think I might have that open in a tab. Hang on.
Also, I just thought of a way to put a thought I have. Red, blue, and yellow are science fiction. Gold and silver are science fantasy.
That's fair. I can see that.
I can see that.
They incorporate elements of both as the series goes on.
Yeah.
You know, we got alternate dimensions.
It feels like they kind of alternate.
And we got fairies.
It feels like they kind of alternate sci-fi and fantasy.
To a certain extent, yeah. I guess you can say that.
Red, blue, and yellow sci-fi, gold and silver fantasy, ruby and sapphire sci-fi, diamond and pearl fantasy, black and white sci-fi.
Black 2 and White 2 are definitely sci-fi.
Yeah, but you know,
they've got some fantasy elements to them.
I count Black 2 and White 2
like
just as like Final Fantasy X 2, you know?
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. But like similar to Final Fantasy, like I feel like Black 2 and White 2 have very convergent fantasy and sci-fi
they have so
stuff.
much
I mean,
alike, convergent sci-fi and fantasy, an opening where someone is like real emotion plays.
Yeah, I mean, like it's
imaginary ghost people.
And like, God, I have a lot of feelings about Gen 5, so I'm now having to hold myself back. But like the main bad guys go from being knights, like a knight army, to being like pirate ninjas, and there's like fantasy elements because there's like the Chosen King prophecy angle, but there's also like the sci-fi elements because Colress is here and they've got a flying boat, but like the dragon legend stuff is like so Gen 5 in my opinion is very much a fusion of both. But
I think the Kyurem stuff is science fantasy.
Yeah, and then like Gen 6 is fantasy.
Absolutely.
It's totally a fantasy story. And then Gen 7 is very much a sci-fi story.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Gen
8 is
Gen
sci-fi
8 is...
still, so you know, I guess the pattern breaks.
Gen 8 is kind of a fantasy story in my opinion.
Oh wait,
like it's
I got
kind
mixed
of,
up, sorry. Right, Gen 8
Gen 9
is
is
Sword and
sci-fi.
Shield. Right, sorry.
Yeah, Gen 8 is Sword and Shield, which is very which has some fantasy
Gen
stuff.
7
like,
was
it has an
definitely
alien in it.
Yeah.
Like, it has an alien in it, but, like, the alien is just the big dragon that the knights have to fight, you know? So it's, like, it's got the combination
I got
of
generation
elements.
numbers mixed up in my head, and I thought for a second that Gen 8 was Alola, and I'm like, Alola is... You cannot say Alola is a fantasy story.
Yeah, absolutely. Gen 7 is Alola, and Alola is sci-fi. It's an alien
Alola
invasion
feels
plot.
like the most sci-fi of the series.
Oh, yeah.
And it's also why I love it so
much.
much. I love Ultra Beast so much. We should do an Ultra
That's
Beast
saying
episode.
something considering how sci-fi Gen 9 is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's more sci-fi, aliens or time travel?
I think specifically extra-dimensional aliens are more sci-fi.
That's true. Although, like, Paradox Pokemon are arguably extra-dimensional aliens too, so it's true. Like, what are we doing here? Okay, so anyway, we got off track from Vaporeon. I like that it kind of looks like a seal.
That all the evolutions have 525 BST.
Yeah, they've all got the same base stats. They generally all have 130 in a stat that they're focused in, and then 110 in like their secondary stat that they're focused in, and like they all have the same stat numbers, just distributed differently for the most part. I think they might have hit like, all of them have 130, 110, 95, 265s, and a 60, just distributed differently.
Yeah, Vaporeon is an HP tank and has really good special attack.
Yep. It's pretty slow, but it's especially pretty bulky and deals a decent amount of damage. And it has access to, like, tons of really good moves between Surf, which you have to have, and, like, various ice moves that it gets. It gets Aurora Beam by level up, so even if there's not, like, an Ice Beam TM, you can still have the ice coverage. It's very good.
I do find it funny that they kind of dodge around it with the Pokedex entries. They don't say Vaporeon turns into water. They say it can invisibly melt away into water, and its cell composition is similar to water molecules.
Gotta find that sci-fi explanation
like-
for a fantasy creature.
So what you're telling
I
me
guess
is that
so,
it can
yeah.
turn into water. Cool, thanks.
Yeah.
It might be clearer in Japanese. I don't know. So Jolteon.
Good old
is...
JT Fourhearts, the promised child.
Jolteon is also very good historically. It's just because
it's fast. Wow.
Yeah, Jolteon is the speed focused one. He neumes and he zaps
God, he
real
really
hard,
does.
and that's basically all that he does.
And when he can
has really good...
terrestrialize, he is a nightmare.
Oh yeah, he has good type coverage, but they're mostly in like weird physical moves that he gets. Like Eevee gets double kick no matter what now, but it used to be that Jolteon got double kick and none of the other ones did, and I don't know why that is. It's just a weird thing, and also it gets pin missile. But both of those are physical, and its physical attack is not very good. So
It'll poke you with its little needles.
it does poke you with its needles, and I love that.
Oh god,
Jolteon-
Jolteon Shiny is awful. Holy shit.
What's wrong
Yeah,
with it?
it's in the lime green shinies club. I think some of the Jolteon, some of the reason that doesn't look good is because of the way lighting and color choice worked in 3D. I think it looks fine. I think it looks okay-ish in.
Oh, it does look
in,
better in the sprites. That's true.
Yeah, it depends on which game. It looks better in Diamond and Pearl than it does in basically any other game, just because of the color palette choices.
Oh yeah, that's much better. It looks sickly in 3D.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
It looks like your cartoon about to puke.
Yeah, it looks like yuck from Yin Yang Yo. The Yin Yang. Don't worry
Real
about it.
Yin
It looks
Yang
like
heads
Scourge
know.
the Hedgehog. It looks like Scourge the Hedgehog. Okay, well let's go with that.
No, Scourge is a deeper green than that.
No, it doesn't look like
Someti-
Scourge the Hedgehogs. It looks like Surge the Tenrak.
A little bit. I feel
little
like Surge is also a little darker than that. Whatever. Jolteon is also historically very good. It does its job and it does it well. It's fast as fuck, boy, and that's all it needs.
It hits you hard. It hits you once, and then it explodes.
And it can
Yeah, to a very
terrestrialize
large
into ground
extent.
type and then use Terra Blast and ruin your whole day.
Or into ice and ruin your day. You can Terra Blast into anything. Terra Blast is one of Jolteon's best moves, which is very wild. But it does get some all the evolutions get Shadow Ball now, and
Yeah.
there's some other stuff. But Jolteon benefits so much from terrestrialization. It's wild.
All right, I need to look at its Pokedex entries.
I think it's mostly just stuff about how pointy it is,
like
how
it,
pokey
though.
it is.
His little needles.
He does, yes.
Watch Dogs in Love, please.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell, Lore likes Jello Apocalypse's Dogs in Love series a lot.
I've
And we'll be
watched it
quoting
20 times.
And we'll be quoting it consistently throughout this video or this podcast episode. I'm going to say video every single episode.
When you think
It's
about
gonna
it,
happen.
Eeveelutions is kind of Pikmin.
How so?
I guess so. I hadn't thought about that.
Having never played Pikmin, how so?
Elemental
There are a bunch of different
alignments,
types.
a bunch of different types.
And they all specialize in something different.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
And there's one that's kind of more generalized, that's good for everything. That's kind of a little bit good at everything.
Kinda.
But it also is a type as well. It's God, that's actually really interesting because yellow Pikmin can be thrown the furthest,
Yeah.
so they're kind of the fastest.
Yeah.
Ah.
And red ones are the fighters,
Yeah.
and blue ones are the ones that have the most utility because they can go in water. That's actually wild. Okay, we're not
Eevees is
yeah. So
Pikmin.
basically, it's just it's talking about.
Yeah.
Oh wow! Apparently in yellow it talks about its mood changes charge its electricity. It's got mood. It's mood powered. It's got emotional. That's wild.
Aw. Probably not a good emotional support animal then.
Lethal
It's
hugs.
just me. It's just me. So anyway, my actual favorite of the original three is Flareon. I love
Oh,
Flareon.
this is going to be ironic because I'm such a fire trainer. Flareon is my least favorite evolution.
So part of this is very silly. When I was a child, I named the Eevee I got in Fire Red or Leaf Green. I don't remember which one I did. I named it Fluffy, and I was like, I don't want to evolve it into Vaporeon or Jolteon. Those aren't fluffy, so I evolved it into Flareon. That was when I was like 8. But like ever since then, I've always been a Flareon defender. It's first of all, 95 special attack is not that bad. Second of all, it has access to physical moves. Its actual problem is that it's slow and it doesn't take physical hits very well. But it has really solid special defense, and like that's the second highest stat. 95 special attack is like the same as a number of first stage evolutions that are special attackers. Like it's not that bad. It's just slow, which is why it needs a Mega Evolution to make it fast. And
it is also
else.
made of wet tissue paper. Look at that HP stat.
Yeah, it doesn't have a lot of
Oh my
HP,
God.
but like Jolteon also doesn't have a lot of HP.
The Fire Red or their Pokemon Ruby and Emerald refer to Flareon as having fluffy fur. It's fluffy.
Yes, it is.
It has
fluffy.
a flame sac in its body.
Well, yeah, most fire types do. Most fire types have flame sacs referred to them.
Oh, it's fluffy fur
Does
releases heat
Flareon
into
get
the air.
Flare Blitz? Flareon does get Flare Blitz.
Yep, now. It didn't for a while. But it gets it now.
Its body.
That was like a big day for Flareon, and I think it was 7 that it got it.
That's late. Wow.
Yeah, it was either Gen 6 or Gen 7, but it finally got Flare Blitz, and everyone was like, hallelujah! Both of its abilities are good, too, by the way. Like most of the Eeveelutions, you got one ability that's good. But, like, with Flareon, both of those abilities are useful in different ways. So that's kind of cool.
Kind of an underwhelming
It can't be
shiny.
burned to activate Guts, so you have to have a Toxic Orb, which is not ideal, but it's still very fun.
Kind of got an underwhelming shiny.
Yeah, I mean, like, none of the Eeveelution shinies except for Sylveon and Umbreon are great.
I like Vaporeon's shiny.
Vaporeon shiny is like pink? Is it pink?
It's
Yeah.
fuchsia.
Yeah. But yeah. I feel like Flareon took a while to reach a good niche of functionality, but it's in a good place now.
Yes, and I have enjoyed using it basically every gen. I think that it's really solid even in Black 2 and White 2, just because like you get Flame Charge and Fire Fang, and Flame Charge is pretty good for Flareon. I think it learns it in that game. It didn't for a while, so it might actually not. Like there was a little while where Flareon, like they just didn't give it anything. Like they were just like, nah, we
Our
just
least
hate
favorite
Flareon.
child.
Yeah, which is it's very strange. Like Flareon also looks the most like Eevee out of all the Eeveelutions. It's got the fur, it's got the tail shaped very similar. The ears are the same.
The ruff.
Yeah, I mean like Jolteon has the ruff, but it's spiky, so like, but it doesn't have like a really visible tail. Its tail goes all tiny mode. But Flareon's got the big bushy tail, which makes sense because fire, fluffy. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It looks very huggable. Flareon is so goddamn huggable, and I love it very
It's a
much.
good design. It's just that it's just Eevee.
A little bit, yeah. I have an original Pokemon region thing idea that I worked on at various points, and I have come up with megas for every Eeveelution. Basically just giving them each one of the physical types to match up with them all being special types, basically. And the one I gave to Flareon was fighting, and I basically what I did with it was I gave it bandage wraps on its legs and gave it like a headband.
Ooh, or
I made it so
are the edges of the bandage wraps like fire singed?
I don't think I had that originally, but yes, I don't remember if I think they didn't trail
now
off.
they are.
They didn't really trail off. Like it had like a scarf, like it turned into like a scarf. Like its ruff turned into like sort of like a scarfy shape. If I remember right, I have the art somewhere here, but I'll show it to you guys later. But yeah, I have a lot of positive opinions about Flareon. I like it a lot. For reference, Vaporeon's Mega was Flying type, and Jolteon's was Bug type because Signal Beam. So now we move on to Espeon.
Oh wow, Espeon's shiny got vivid in Gen 9. Wow.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, they've messed around with the intensity
It's a
of
little
that
less
green.
cute green now, so that's nice.
Yeah, they turned it into like a more emeraldy green, which I think it kind of originally was anyway.
Well, let me take a look at the Gen 2 shiny sprite.
Yeah,
it's kind of
it's
emeraldy.
Yeah, it's always been very bright. So when they took it 3D, they did it fairly emeraldy the whole time.
So Espeon's pretty cool.
Yeah, Espeon's always been very good. It's pretty fast, hits real hard.
You give it a Heartstone, it evolves into Espeon. Pretty cool.
Something like that, yeah. Synchronize is a really fun ability, but Magic Bounce is kind of busted, but like only in singles.
Magic Bounce. Let me read this.
Oh, Magic Bounce is fun.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
It's most useful. I think Mega Sableye has that as its ability, which is one of the reasons why it was pretty good. But again, it's mostly good in singles because the move that you want to bounce back is Stealth Rock. It's very good specifically because of that.
You just throw some rocks
whereas
at it, and it bounces
with
right back.
in doubles, you don't know who's going to be targeted and stuff, so it basically just means that they won't target you and they'll target your partner instead, which isn't bad, but like it depends. But like, you know, it's much more situational.
Okay, so I guess the Weatherman would also have an Espeon as a partner because it can also predict the weather apparently.
Yes, it can read air currents. Espeon is obviously the most cat-like of the Eeveelutions.
It's like a
it's
hairless
very
cat.
interesting how just a cat it is. It's a Nekomata specifically, of course. Its tail is splitting, and it is very iconic looking. Like the jewel on its head and the eyes are like the. It's interesting because it's kind of got like fennec fox like tufts, but like those might also be lynx tufts. It's interesting how different you could the different ways that you could take it, but
tracking that Espeon in new Pokemon Snap was really cool. It's
been a while since
in the Mirage Forest or whatever it's called.
Yeah, it's been a while since I played that area, so it took me a second. But
if I recall correctly, you have to follow it. You have to do specific things to lead and then follow the Espeon to get to different sections of the forest.
Yep, I'm remembering now. It's very interesting. Like new Pokemon Snap is great. I want Pokemon Snap 3. I want Pokemon Snap 5. I want Pokemon Snap
so
a dozen.
Badly. Pokemon Snap is my third favorite Pokemon game.
It's a very good video game.
It's so good.
I don't know what to say about Espeon. It's just, like, it's arguably one of the most popular, just because of how sleek and streamlined its design is. It's one of the starters in Coliseum. It's just very solid and good. In the original Gold and Silver, you basically cannot get any evolution besides Espeon and Umbreon. You don't get access to the evolution stones until Kanto, and you only get one of each, which is wild. They fixed it in Crystal, but it's still a pain in the ass to get them. So you're most likely going to get Espeon and Umbreon, and Espeon is very much the more useful of the two, just because, like, in single player, you want an offensive guy more than you want a defensive guy. But they are very much, like, counterparts in a very obvious way, so it's kind of hard not to talk about them together. The sun and moon aspects, the
psychic and poison. Psychic and dark.
Yeah, it's interesting that it was originally going to be a poison type, but then I guess they pivoted to making it like all they wanted to include their new type, but also like make it all special types, I guess, even though Dark should have been a physical type.
And they didn't change
Ghost
anything about
type.
the description of Umbreon in its Pokedex to make it stop being a poison type, which is very funny.
Which is why its Mega Evolution is Dark Poison that I gave it, because it's like you can't do anything else. And then Espeon, I had no idea what to give it as a secondary type, so I picked Rock because it gets Power Gem, so I did like a gemstone thing. I made it all psychic and orbular, and I made its tails fluffier. I gave it like 2 fluffy cat tails. I made it like a Maine Coon
Perfectly
lynx
spherical
type.
Espeon.
Perfectly Espeon ball, psychic bounce,
Cat
psychic
orb,
bounce.
the corb. It's interesting because Umbreon is not really dog-like. Like, it's kind of dog-like, but it's based on the moon rabbit. So it's like kind of wolves
kind
that
of
howl at
Banooey.
the moon, but it's also like everything associated with the moon is going to have rabbits in it somewhere if it comes from Asia. Basically everything. Like you cannot separate moon and rabbit.
And just like
All I know is that Umbreon's shiny fucks.
Oh yeah, they knew what they were doing. They were like, no, we don't got to do anything complicated here.
and just like rabbits, it exhumes a poisonous sweat from its pores.
Yeah, I don't know much about rabbits, admittedly, but you can't really see its mouth most of the time, which is similar to how rabbits exist. And it's got the big ears, although like the tail is kind of wonky. Like Umbreon is just a fascinating design in general. Like I don't know, there's a lot to it. But its shiny is great. I associate Umbreon a lot with fucking Kingdom Hearts because like everybody was like, ah yes, if any Pokemon is any Kingdom Hearts character, this is Saix because like the shiny is blue and everything too. So it's like, ah yes, we found Saix. So it's it's hard for me to like separate that situation.
Umbreon is my second favorite Eeveelution design and possibly my least favorite Eeveelution to actually use because
Unfortunately.
its stats are the exact inverse of what I value in a Pokemon.
Yeah, unfortunately tanks are not super good in single player games, but it is, very useful as a tank. It can take so many more hits than it should be able to, than you think it would be able to. It's, I have used it in single player games before, like in really tough scenario, like in like the really hard ones or whatever. It can just sit there and do debuffs and be annoying because the game is, because like the games that I play, some of them really, really, really want you to suffer. And Umbreon is like, all right, let me spread it around a little bit.
It's interesting that they still mention the poisonous sweat in Sword and Shield, but in an Arceus and Scarlet and Violet, they stopped.
Oh, did they? Interesting. Let me look at these. I gotta look at these. What do they mention instead?
When exposed to the moon's aura, its body glows and it gains a mysterious power. When darkness falls, its body begins to glow, striking fear in the hearts of anyone nearby. Maybe they're afraid of the poisonous
The light
sweat
of the
spray.
moon changed Eevee's genetic structure.
Yeah, I love that.
It lurks in the darkness.
I love that bullshit poll. What do you mean the light of the moon changed Eevee's genetic
Well, I mean, we know now that the moon is tied to fairies, which is interesting.
The cosmic rays from the moon flipped a bit in Eevee's genetic code.
I do like that it glows. It's a dark type Pokemon, but it glows because it's like it represents like light in the dark. There's a lot of stuff to say about Umbreon. It's very cool, and like the way that it and Espeon like sort of contrast each other. Like Umbreon is very stocky and rounded, whereas Espeon is very sleek, and it's just that they very clearly go together, and I really like
the way that
them
they're both
because of
dogs
that.
and that they're both in love.
They do be, yes.
Oh God! Watch Dogs in Love.
Indeed. Speaking of dogs, Leafeon is definitely a dog.
Leafeon is my favorite Eeveelution.
I fucking love this thing also. This thing
I don't
is
know if
criminally
that's
underrated.
unexpected for me, but Leafeon is my favorite Eeveelution.
I think Leafeon kind
Like,
of goes
I
hard.
also... Yeah, like, when this thing came out, it became my favorite very quickly. I love this thing. It's not super fast, but it's fast enough. It hits pretty hard. It can take physical hits like nobody's business, and it's got type coverage. Like, most Eeveelutions I mentioned do not have type coverage. Leafeon has type coverage for days. It gets X-Scissor. It gets Aerial Ace. It gets so many good things. It's like...
Forget Vaporeon having cell structure similar to water molecules. Leafeon
Well, see,
has
here's the
cells
thing.
similar to
Plant
plants.
cells are actually a thing. Plant cells are a thing. Molecules in cells are different, but Leafeon becoming a plant, that's not weird for Pokemon. We have multiple creatures that are also plants in Pokemon. So like Eevee becoming a plant is like the least weird thing out of all of these, arguably.
I think jellyfish are basically water, and we've got jellyfish Pokemon.
Fair enough, I guess. I mean, like, Leafeon being a plant is not that weird. Jellyfish being just water is actually fairly normal, because you see, our blood is actually us trying to put the ocean back in ourselves, because originally we just let the ocean carry the salt and the nutrients around in us. We just sort of took the ocean and kept it inside of ourselves, and then gradually it started to need to do more and more things as we gradually became more complicated and then went on to
Us
land.
as in the
So we just
proto-mammal that we evolved from, right? Okay.
Yes, us as in creatures, human, like the entire history of evolution up to and including us.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say, I don't remember Homo sapiens doing that.
Yeah, the tetrapods that came onto land were like, okay, I got to do some stuff with this stuff that's moving around in my body. We gotta make some changes. Various groups developed various different chemicals to transport their oxygen in various ways. So yeah, Leafeon being a plant is not that weird, in my opinion.
I just thought it was
it's
funny
totally
that
normal.
it's almost a reprise of They talk about Vaporeon as if it's normal to be similar, or as if it's the same level of strange as Leafeon is, you know?
Huh, I guess so, yeah, that is kind of silly. I love Leafeon just because it's so effective. It's very simple. It's just got some leaves on it, but the fact that it's got the ground accent color and the leaf on its head. I love a leaf on a head. I love a leaf shaped tail. The only thing that it's missing is that its shiny is not autumn colored. Why is it shiny? Why is every single Pokemon with foliage should have an autumn
Or a
colored
winter
shiny?
color.
It's
I'd
very
also be fan
simple.
of the winter colored shiny.
Yeah, instead it's just a slightly mintier green.
I like it shiny. I think it's aesthetically pleasing.
Its shiny isn't bad, it's just barely discernible. Especially in 3D, holy shit. It's not even mintier, it's slightly darker. It's got a slightly darker brown and a slightly deeper green. How did they get away with that?
I didn't say it was the best shiny in the world.
I like Glaceon shiny a lot more, because it's also kind of indistinguishable, but it's much paler in a way that I like.
It's blue.
I got distracted by the plant-based structure thing. I forgot to read about other facts about Leafeon. Just like a plant, it photosynthesized. Oh, it can use photosynthesis to give itself energy if it can't eat. Okay.
Yep, it's a very, and I think some of the Pokedex entries talk about it cleaning the air around itself and stuff.
Ooh, that's cool.
It's a very, very nice Pokemon that's very helpful.
Do you think Galarian,
I like it.
Weezing, and Leafeon would be friends?
Oh, absolutely. I think that they would be great friends.
What else? Oh, apparently young
Just
ones
going
smell
around-
like fresh grass, but older ones smell like fallen leaves.
Aw.
Excellent. The smell ages as they do. That's so... God, Leafeon is very
So
huggable
why
looking,
isn't
even
it
though it's
autumnal
not...
colored
It's not
and it's shiny?
Yeah. It doesn't look it doesn't look soft or anything, but it looks very huggable anyway, and I'm not sure why. It just looks friendly, I guess. It's very friendly looking. It is shaped like a friend.
Shiny Leafeon photosynthesizes harder.
Maybe so. Maybe so. I love Glaceon. Glaceon is objectively probably the worst
This
evolution
poor
at this
thing.
point.
Oh, I gotta see this thing's stats. Hang on.
Yeah, it's got really good special attack, really good physical defense for some reason, pretty okay special defense, and then they made it super slow because I guess they wanted to make it tanky. I don't know why. I don't know why they like to make tanky ice types when they know what the ice type is. They know what they did to the ice type, and they still make tanky ice types. It's
They have a vision, And nothing
Most
will get in
ice
its
types
way.
are tanky, in fact. Like, I'm going down this list,
Do you think
and I'm
they're
like, that's
do you
a
think
tank,
they're trying to
that's a
compensate
tank.
for how shit of a defensive type it is?
I don't know, maybe. That's a tank, that's kind of a tank. Those are attackers. Jinx is an attacker, Mr. Rhyme is an attacker, Articuno is kind of a tank. It's especially defensive. Delibird is a joke. Walrein is a tank. Mamoswine is a tank. Oh yeah, it is probably.
Oh, I wasn't
Delibird.
trying to correct you. I was just saying, be nice to it. I like it, even though it's a joke.
No, it's funny. I like it. It's very
love
funny.
Delibird.
Even though it's a joke.
But it is a joke.
Poor thing.
It's a funny joke. It's a very good joke, but it is a joke.
Poor thing.
Anyway, I like Glaceon anyway. It's not good, but I love it anyway.
It's a cool design.
It is a very good design. I love its hair / like hat danglies. I love like the diamond pattern. It's very cool.
I literally just processed that those aren't ears.
What aren't ears? It's
The
actual
danglies.
ears. The danglies. Why would you like? It's got ears.
I know.
So
It's got
some
very
reason, I've
visible
always
ears.
processed the dangles as
I
ears.
like it the most when a Pokedex entry tells me how the creature actually lives and what its environment is like and everything, rather than its superpowers. Sadly, the only thing you really get for Glaceon is it's a popular Pokemon at ski resorts because the coldness emanating from Glaceon causes powdery snow to form.
Interesting.
Sounds like
so-
it's the exact opposite of huggable then.
Yeah,
It's like an air
unfortunately, but you can
conditioner.
dress it up. It looks very dress
like an air
upable, which
conditioner.
I think would be fun.
If it's a hot day out, you hug Glaceon and it's like, comfy.
Yeah, and if it's a cold day, you hug Flareon, and if it's just like a normal day, like if it's like a temperate day, you hug Leafeon.
True.
The megas for Leafeon and Glaceon, by the way, Leafeon is grass ground, and Glaceon is ice ghost. Basically, by like kind of process of elimination.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there were a couple others. But
Oh, tell
Rock
me
and-
you made Sylveon Fairy Steel. That would be
I
so
did.
funny.
I did. It needed to be. It needed to be the case. I turned it into a knight. It's like a fairy princess knight, magical girl
You
type.
monster. Unleashing more Fairy Steel Pokemon on the world.
I was like, look, I know it's broken, but Sylveon already broken. Let's make it broken. Let's lean in.
So, is Fairy or Steel commonly regarded as the best type?
It varies. Fairy, both of them are very good types. Those are the best two types, probably, and so combining them together is the best type combination. Sylveon is the slowest of the Eeveelutions, but it can take hits, and Fairy is just a good type. So, like, it's highest status special defense, and it can hit pretty hard, and it's actually got decent HP to back that up. So it's like, it's just good, and Sylveon has the best shiny in the game. It's trans rights. It's just trans rights.
people confirmed Dragon Slayers.
Indeed, yes, and like Sylveon is just super cute and like very fashion, and then you realize that it's got tentacles, and you're like, oh my god, that's horrifying. But also somehow
Flesh
I don't
ribbons.
find you any less cute. That's wild. It really does embody the fairy type in a very real way, and I appreciate it for that.
Sylveon is Penny's signature Pokemon, and considering the trans vibes she gives off, I'm wondering if that's, like, the actual implication.
I mean, Eevee has trans vibes as a Pokemon in general. Like, when you think about it, like, Eevee is sort of like gender neutrality in its purest form, and then it can transition into one of 8 guys.
Well,
so, like, it
that's true, but Sylveon is
The most
explicitly
trans.
associated with transness by the fan base.
It's
and
interesting.
I'm
It's
wondering if the Pokemon devs leaned into that on purpose with Penny.
it's possible. Like,
We will
which kind of
never get
trans person are
confirmation
you?
from the Pokemon devs that Penny is trans. Never, ever will they say it explicitly. But I'm wondering if that's meant to be the implication.
Yeah, they like implying stuff over there. It's that's kind of the way that things are. But I will say, right, I didn't even register, like, I only just came to the Eevee is trans, like, Eevee is gender very, very, like, right now, right this second. I think I've always thought it, but, like, there are 8 genders, like, there are 9 genders, and one of them is no gender, is actually very good. What gender are you? I'm just Eevee. I'm just Eevee. I don't have a gender. What about you guys? What gender are you?
I haven't made an Eeveelution that's my gender yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I guess I'll go with Leafeon.
Yeah, you seem like a Leafeon, to be honest.
Fair
like
enough.
that fits your vibe. I can see that. So yeah, Sylveon is just really well designed. Like, you can tell that, like, they've been like you can see in the evolution of Eeveelutions that, like, okay, we have seen and taken in all of your Sparkle dogs based on Eevee that we have inspired, and we have, like, you know, we released some of that into the world with Leafeon and Glaceon, with them, like, now we have unleashed full Sparkle dog upon ye, and the fandom was like, thank
apparently
you.
It's
more
apparently
please.
Its ribbon-like feelers can put a soothing aura into your body and erase your hostility. That's terrifying.
Yep, it has aura powers. It has emotion powers. It can read your emotions with its feelers and project its emotions onto
Do you think it would be friends with Lucario?
So that's for sure, yeah. Like,
Do you think it would be
Aura
friends
is,
with Hatterene?
Yeah, Aura as a concept is sort of associated with fighting types and fairy types before it's associated with anything else. Aura Sphere is, of course, a fighting type move, but it's kind of like a normal type thing as well. Like, a lot of different kinds of Pokemon can get Aura Sphere, but Aura is tied to emotions, and emotions are kind of a fairy type thing because they represent sort of like the what's the word for fickleness of emotion, and like having emotion that's sort of like separate from the usual, which is that's kind of like the fairy thing. They're like looking at things at a 90-degree angle because they're not like so like, you know, fighting is like emotions at like at the highest level, and then like psychic and fairy and ghost all kind of have like vibes of that, where like the emotions are arranged in different ways, and dark type is also associated with that to a certain degree, like, because dark type is kind of like meanness and everything. Like the type theory and how the magic type system actually works in Pokemon, and how Pokemon have access to moves of various types is something that I love fucking dissecting in fic and in everything. It's very fascinating to, like, think about how do Pokemon learn to use certain moves, like, how do TMs actually work? Clearly you can also tutor Pokemon, so how does that work? How do you teach them to harness these powers? And it's like, there's lots of fun stuff that you can do, and I love magic systems.
How do you teach Pokemon to understand the power that's inside? So that's the Eeveelutions.
Okay, so that's everybody. We got in at just about an hour. We're gonna cut some of the stuff, so it's gonna be less than an hour. Do we have anything else that we want to talk about? Do we miss anything? I may as well show you. I may as well like search for the Pokemon.
What kind of Eeveelution would you like to see?
I'm good with what we've got. Like, a dragon type would be good, but I think we're good.
I want a bug tape named Honeyton.
I like having exactly half the type chart be represented. I think that like, including Eevee, like having exactly half the type chart. If we like, we would have to get every other type, or I don't want any more. Like, I think that this works perfectly. I think that, like, having it like Eevee. Like, maybe a dragon one so that we have all the special types, but like,
dragon type Eevee would look fucking rad.
But like, just give Eevee an extra form that makes it like dragon-esque instead. That's what I would say. Like, make that like a normal dragon type thing that you could do with Eevee. I think I actually had that planned as like one of the things that I could do to like round out giving all of the Eeveelutions megas.
I'm in love with the Honey-On idea.
I think Pokemon
Honey-On
Fool's
is a
Gold
very
made
good
one
like
of the Eeveelutions bug type and made it look like a bee.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember which one that was. It's been a while since I looked at them, unfortunately. Okay, so I can go ahead and show you guys some of these megas so that you guys can like comment on them while we're still on the thing. So here's Mega Flareon. One of the first ones I did. It's
cool.
One of the first
I like the cape scarf fur. Now that you've shown me what you actually meant.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's inspired a little bit by Gaugamon. He's got like it's like a similar vibe to the Gaugamon line, because when it comes to like fighting dogs, I feel like that makes the most sense. And then here's Mega Leafeon, which is basically the second one I came up with, the grass ground type. I gave it a little cape.
Mm-hmm.
And a little crown. I made him like a little prince, and I thought that was a pretty good idea.
I feel like
And
maybe
then-
I would have liked for you to depart a little bit more past Leafeon with this one. This, like, while the other one looked a little bit more like a physiological difference in a lot of ways, this one does look a little bit
This
like
does
Leafeon.
just kind of look like Leafeon with some stuff
Sorry
on
if
it.
it's
I know.
not a good
I
time
have
for me
thought
to
about
criticize.
that.
I'm not trying to be mean.
No, it's
Okay.
fine. I have like it's been a while since I originally designed
Yeah.
these. I only have one other one actually colored, which is Mega Sylveon, and this one, I love this one. I will always love this design.
Those are some big ass flesh ribbons.
Yeah, it's got to be like shields and weapons now. So they're steel.
Pretty cool.
They're big.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of the armor. I looked up references for it and everything.
That is well drawn armor.
And the metal shading on it as well, I'm pretty proud of.
You'll-
So those are the only ones I've actually colored. I've got sketches of all the rest, though.
We'll have to show the viewers this some way. Like, even if
Yeah,
it's just in the
I will
description
have it
of the
linked
YouTube
in the
video,
description.
get me a link for hosted images of these three.
I will see what I can do. Yeah. I'll see what I can figure out, but I'm not totally sure. Since only 3 of them are colored. I have most of Mega Vaporeon colored, but it's not quite finished. I need to do shading on it, and I haven't worked on it in a while. But this is the basic idea. It's got like flying fish. I went with flying fish energy.
Nice.
Nice.
And then this is Mega Jolteon. I was like very Galvantula pilled when I was making this. It's got its like third pair of legs tucked up on its side, and it uses them when it like climbs walls and stuff to maneuver when it goes really fast. And it's got like, you can't really see, but it's got like Galvantula sort of things where it's got like the segmented limbs as well. You can kind of see that like the paws are kind of like big fluffy things connected to sort of like thinner stalks as well, which was kind of a fun thing. And then Espeon and Umbreon are together because obviously they would be. Umbreon, I had no idea what to do with to make it look more poison type, so I just made it edgy as hell. I could add more like gems to Espeon, like arguably I could make it more ornate. Like put something on its back or something. I added more stripes to Umbreon, but I mean, like, you know, it's a dark poison type. It's clearly like got some vibes. I could probably turn some of its like patterns into skulls instead, and that would make sense. And I don't have Glaceon on here because but like the idea was just to Frostlass it and like give it like a kimono, but I was like but I wasn't totally sure, like how good that would look, and so I've been like considering other options as well. So I haven't actually worked on these in a while. So that's another reason why I don't really know if I would be able to share these, because A, they're old, B, they're not, B, there's other stuff that's not finished, like, you know, it's an incomplete set, but I can at least post, like, a couple of them, I guess. Like
we should at least show the colored ones.
Yeah. The fact that Megaletheon is not transparent is a little embarrassing, but whatever. I really do like the Mega Sylveon. I actually got fan art of it on that channel. Somebody who came on it was like, I gotta draw this, it's so good. And
Nice.
it's really good fan
Hell
art.
yeah.
Nice.
Like, look at, like, this is a warrior right here. And I really wanted to, like, Sylveon, I think, was one of the first ones that I came up with. I was like, okay, let's give it the most broken type in the game. Let's make it a magical fairy princess knight, because she slays dragons, and that's the whole vibe. She is the princess and the knight at the same time, and, like, you know, magical girl vibes. I made her ribbons more ornate and everything, and I gave her, like, the little gem steel thing that magical girls have on their bows, and I was like, yeah. And then Mega Flareon, I was like, I just need to make it into a warrior. I gotta give it its wraps and everything. This is a fighter. So those two designs were some of the earliest ones. I could arguably, like, swap it around and make Mega Vaporeon a ghost type, but I liked the flying fish angle. It's got,
yeah,
like,
the flying fish angle is pretty cool.
I agree.
And the other ones I'm also fairly proud of. I got to do something about Umbreons, but other than that, I think these are still pretty solid design ideas.
Yeah.
I like designing Pokemon. I like drawing Pokemon. It's a fun exercise, and, like, creature design, like the way that Pokemon are designed in general is just very interesting. I've always found it interesting. Like, the way that they can take, like, an animal, like a single animal, and, like, one special feature, and be like, okay, let's combine these and see what happens. And then they can also, like, find multiple layers of different meaning to put together into one simple mascot design. Like, Umbreon is, you know, like, the nighttime and the moon rabbit, and it's also got, like, warning signals because, like, aposematic coloration to show that it's poisonous, you know? Mm-hmm. It's like it glows in the dark to, like, warn people. Like, there's so many layers just to Umbreon's design, which I think is one of the reasons why it's one of the most popular. And there's a lot of, like, you know, the stuff about Nekomata is interesting for Espeon. Like, Vaporeon, Jolteon, and Flareon are very basic ideas, but you can still sort of take them to interesting places, you know? And you can tell as the complexity continued to evolve, you know, as the... I don't mean to do that, but I can't stop myself. It's, like, a very easy thing to say about Pokemon.
Yeah. Listen, their designs got more complex for a while, and then got more
evolved.
More children cartoony. Oh,
okay. That's the joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope that it has become clear to you, listener, how much I love Eevee. I love Eevee and all of its extended family. I would go to war for these little creatures. They're so simple, and they're just funny, cool type creature that it's like it flows so naturally from magical critter game that where you get to have critters. We're going to make one that can evolve into different things. It's like it's such a simple, basic idea, and yet they executed on it so well, and they do so many fun and cool things with it, and it's like, it's just so excellent. I love Eevee.
Eevee's pretty great.
as we all should.
So, I have no idea what we should do after this. We've covered all of the starters now, basically.
I had the make a team and talk about it idea.
It's true. I kind of wanted this to be a we talk about designs of Pokemon type podcast. Like in general, where we just go over different lines and groups of lines and everything. Mm-hmm. But I guess we don't really have to do that. It's pretty we were mostly just talking about Pokemon. But the thing is, how the hell do you expect me to pick a team of 6 Pokemon, Lore? I cannot do that in any modern video game. I can't make a team of 6. But it would, what we could do is, we could draft a team of 12, or a team of 11 or 12. We could do draft rules, on podcast. We could go around and we could have the Roy League draft pool.
Well, that sounds interesting.
we could do that. That would be funny. We could talk about like our different choices and everything, and that would be kind of interesting. But we'll figure that out by the time we get to the next episode, dear audience. For now, I don't know if I have anything to plug at the moment. For the most part, my life is, as normal as it can get right now. Lore, you want to go ahead and plug your stuff?
Sure. I've got 3 things to plug. First, my Twitch, twitch.tv/Loreweaver15. I stream almost every day there at 1 p.m. EST. I'm currently doing a Final Fantasy XIV playthrough every Saturday with a couple of friends. I just started Shadowbringers, and I got welcome to Shadowbringers last week. So, exciting things are happening. Second, my YouTube channel, at Loreweaver on YouTube. I upload all my streams there. Everything from the last 8 years is up there. There's a wide variety of games. Go check it out. I'm sure you'll find something you like. Finally, Jello Apocalypse's Dogs in Love trilogy, which is among the funniest YouTube videos I've ever seen. It's they play through Pokemon Coliseum and then Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness with a group of people who are, I think, amateur voice actors who give all the Pokemon and NPCs voices and personalities, and it is hysterically funny. It's so good. Please watch Dogs in Love. I love it so much. I've watched it like 20 times.
It is essentially the Pokemon version of the real-time Sonic fandubs.
Kinda.
They've done it with a few games too.
Yeah,
So if Pokemon isn't your bag, 1, while you're listening to this podcast, and 2, check out their fun Skies of Arcadia playthrough. That one's fun. It's about trans lesbians. We love that.
Nice.
Teddy, do you have anything else you would like to plug?
Let's see. I already raved about UFO 50. You should still play UFO 50. Very good set of games.
I believe that's on my schedule tomorrow. Let me check.
Tomorrow?
It might be tomorrow.
Tomorrow's Saturday, isn't it?
Oh, right. Tomorrow's Saturday. It's Sunday. For some reason, I got on Final Fantasy XIV and it was like, oh, today must be Saturday. No, I'm doing that on Sunday. Not that anyone will know that by the time I get to Sunday, because this podcast won't go up until the start of December. But,
God, it's wild that it's already almost December.
It's already almost 2025.
According to advertisements.
I know, yeah. Like this is episode 11.
According to advertisements,
we're gonna have a full year.
Christmas, so.
Yeah, we're gonna have I'm torn on that because it's like, do we want to acknowledge Thanksgiving as like a big deal necessarily anymore? Like to a certain extent, like there's stuff that it represents that's good, but like to a certain extent, it's kind of not great. So like maybe it's okay for Christmas to be like the main. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway,
Mariah Carey is leaning into the meme in funny ways, and I love it.
Good for her. She deserves it. But it's the next episode will be a full year of podcasts that we have made together. Even though it didn't come out one of the years, one of the months. Years. So one
of the years.
I mean, it's gonna be multiple years at this point. Anyway, very strange to have a project that has lasted this long. To be honest. It doesn't feel like it's lasted that long. It feels like we started 2 weeks ago.
Hey, this has been a lot of fun. I'm glad we did this.
I am also very glad that we have been doing this. So, I have been Reader Love.
I have been Loreweaver.
And I've been Bunty.
And thank you very much for listening to the Own Tempo Pokemon podcast. We will catch you next month talking about something that we will figure out before we get there. Teddy, do the thing.
Have fun, stay safe, be brave enough to be kind, and get Pokemon.
Get Pokemon!
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good one.